Hi guys from Pax Europiana, good morning. Yeah, I was still in the train to Mariupol, to the east southeast of Ukraine, on the border of the Black Sea. I'm looking very much forward. I have slept quite well actually. It's a very comfortable train here, and I want to show you some of the territory here of the southeast. This is this forested area. There is the steppe basically. This is the territory which basically has no big physical obstacles, and it's flat from the Dnieper, and also also west of the Dnieper it's like that. And this territory here, the forest is less good for tanks, but the normal territory here, when it's not forested like this part, is very flat, and in the winter condition you can use it extremely good for tanks. And that's the immediate danger at the moment, because now it's the winter and the earth is frozen, it's very flat, and it's the ideal tank territory. And so the Russians, obviously the Soviet Union, they have the best winter forces in the world. They are absolutely able to gain some territories militarily here in the east, and they have proven that in the winter war they were actually very successful. They could have beaten also the Finnish in March 40. They were already close to Helsinki, and then they stopped. Basically, it was, I think that is the more correct version of history. So they are very dangerous and they are very capable, and the whole of their tank forces are trained for exactly these conditions. And there is no American pattern in Europe. The American forces in Europe are token forces. That's of course too much, too expensive to have permanent major armies there, like in the Cold War. So there is very token American forces, and we have no real defense after Ukraine, because there's a little bit of army in Poland, there's a little bit in Germany, but they are not capable to really keep Russia out. If Russia would really roll the tanks, they could easily reach Hungary or Germany, especially Berlin. They have done it, they could easily do it again. And there would be very little really in terms of mechanized European troops in 2022 to stop them. But there is Ukraine and there are the javelins. And there's hopefully good politics, because all these military scenarios I'm not so keen to discuss in general, because I hope we can avoid it by simply containing Russia. Because also it cannot be in their interest to send the tanks really like they physically probably could. And understand also why the Americans are so excited, because a lot of people in Europe don't believe, however, there is nobody in Europe who can stop the Russian tanks. I repeat, nobody. We never have the technology, the manpower theoretically, but unarmed men against Russian tanks. And our underinvestment, our lack of leadership, our lack of resolve, there is really very little we could throw into the advance of a Russian tank army and several tanks armies they have. So the real hope in the case of military confrontation is that they are basically stopped here by the Ukrainians. So it's also in a very naked self-interest of the European establishment to make sure that first there is no war, secondly that the Ukrainians are able to contain such a war, and despite, in the steppe you always have the possibility for huge land gains very fast if you are the attacker. That history has shown impressively, but you cannot hold territory because there's simply no serious features and who are defensible, and that is the case. So what is necessary in such a mobile kind of warfare is of course to have the high technology of decent military equipment, which there is in America and there is in Germany, because Germany has this German-Israeli spikes, and also the Polish. There's some irony actually that this is Warsaw Pact Soviet technology. They have that in this Pirun, and of course the Stingers and the Javelins. Yeah. So this is really important in that case. It's also for our own interest, our own security is at stake here, because obviously we all, the decision makers, I think, have a realistic approach to that. They know that there is little to defend us if then Ukraine would be defeated, but don't worry, it won't be defeated. And don't worry actually, because I think the big war will not happen because of American leadership in this crisis. Again, I want to say thank you, America, because they have supplied already quite a lot of these javelins, I think 1,000, and there is the potential to send much more in case it is required. It's just a shame that we in Germany and Austria are not ready to do it, in this kind of misunderstanding that only Russia was the victim of the Second World War and only Germany was responsible. Obviously, there was also a lot of responsibility of the Soviet Union, by the way. It was the Soviet pact with Hitler which allowed him to open the Polish War, and then also it was the Soviets who attacked Finland, and that's why they were expelled from the West, from the League of Nations, from the civilization, and they were taking in half of Poland, or whatever, almost half of Poland, the Baltic countries, Moldova, as a price for them, allowing basically and opening the Second World War, allowing Hitler to open the Second World War, and then to have this terrible conflict, which was the strategy of Stalin all along, to have another big war like the First World War, where the West